أمسينا وأمسى الملك لله والحمد لله لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له له الملك وله الحمد وهو على كل شيء قدير. ربي أسألك خير ما في هذه الليلة وخير ما بعدها. ربي أعوذ بك من شر ما في هذه الليلة ومن شر ما بعدها. ربي أعوذ بك من الكسل وسوء الكبر. ربي أعوذ بك من عذاب في النار ومن عذاب في القبر. بسم الله الذي لا إله سواه، والحمد لله حمدا طيبا مباركا فيه، حمدا يليق بجماله وجلاله وكماله وجزيل نعمائه، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف أنبيائه محمد الصادق الأمين والرسول المبين المبعوث رحمة للعالمين، وعلى آله الطاهرين الطيبين وأصحابه الصالحين الميامين التابعين لهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. اللهم اجعلنا منهم آمين. My dear brothers and sisters, أوصيكم ونفسي بكثرة ذكر الله تعالى. I admonish you and myself to strive to be always in the dhikr of Allah Azza wa Jal, very frequently in the dhikr of Allah Azza wa Jal, and that you and I all we should set schedule in our lives, in our everyday lives, by which we include a lot of dhikr of Allah Azza wa Jal and a lot of dua as essential ingredients and requirements for the tazkiyah of our nufus, no matter who we are. We think we're scholars or students or regular people or men and women. That is very important to do. العلم ينادي العمل فإن أجابه وإلا ارتحل. As they said, ilm yells at amal, calls amal, acting, doing. And if ilm, as ilm invites and calls amal, amal does not respond, then ilm leaves. And if amal responds to ilm, then there is blessing and barakah in the life of the person. Ilm is not intended also for itself. No, it is not. It is intended for amal. It is intended for worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for obeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for acting upon that ilm in a way that is pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Knowledge is necessary, but not sufficient. Knowledge is a requirement, is necessary, but not sufficient. May lead us to hell. Knowledge alone may lead us to hell. Shaitan had a lot of knowledge, but no amal. And Shaitan's qalb was a shaitani qalb, and that's Jahannam. And of the first people on the day of judgment, as Rasulullah teaches us, that shall be dragged into the fire of hell are ulama, people who had a lot of ilm and read a lot of Quran, and beautified Quran with their voices. And as you know, the text teaches, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala holds them to reckon, that ilm that they had, they spread it and they read the Quran not to worship Allah Azza wa Jal with sincerity, but that to have a place in society, to be famous, and so that it be said, oh, what an excellent reader and what a scholar it is. And then Allah Azza wa Jal orders the angels to drag that individual, wal-iyadhu billah, on his face into the fire of hell. Ila amadin ya'lamuhu Allah, for a time that only Allah knows. أوصيكم ونفسي بكثرة ذكر الله عز وجل وكثرة الدعاء إلى الله سبحانه وتعالى, and a lot of dua, a lot of supplication, A lot of prayers to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A lot of salah. Make your salah quality salah. If all of us, alhamdulillah, perform salah, we need to work on the quality of our salah. We need to work diligently and always to make the quality of our salah better and better and better until it becomes قرة عين. جعلت قرة عيني في الصلاة, as Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said. Part of that quality of salah is the quality of our tahara, the quality of our wudu. You should be very meticulous about that. That when we perform wudu, it is not just an act of washing. It's an act of ibadah itself. As we wash with ibadah, sins are washed off. You should be aware of that. To be in composure in when we perform our wudu, not in a hurry, and not abusing water, and not being distracted, and not laughing and talking. Quality wudu, preparing us for the quality standing in front of Allah Azza wa Jalla. And when we prepare ourselves for salah, we should not simply be coming to salah in a very trivial way, lacking reverence and awe and humility and focus, laughing and talking and whispering to each other and talking about dunya. It's not haram, but it is makruh. Either makruh or, depends what we say, it could be haram. But to prepare ourselves for that moment of standing in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And within salah, to work on the quality of our concentration and our focus on Allah. And after salah, in salah, we're not in a hurry to leave salah. We're not bored and lazy in salah. And after salah, we desire to continue to be in salah by being in dhikr after salah and a regular wird after every salah, no matter what you think you're going to do. Because once we finish salah and we want to leave, as most of us do, Rasulullah taught us in an authentic text that that's done by shaitan. Shaitan, once we finish salah, as he gave up, if he did not already in salah distract us after salah, so that we are not in dhikr of Allah Azza wa Jal, he reminds you or me that we have something important to do. That's what the text teaches. يذكره حاجته. يأتي الشيطان فيذكره حاجته. So he goes, Assalamu alaikum, and then goes. Or we're in a hurry now because الله جميل الله عظيم الله جليل ومن يعظم شعائر الله فإنها من تقوى القلوب. Those who show reverence towards the symbols of Allah Azza wa Jalla, that's a sign of taqwa in the hearts. And if I'm in a hurry to leave salah, if I'm in a hurry to leave dhikr, if I'm in a hurry to leave dua, that means my priorities are not there. My priority is elsewhere. And that's not good for the heart. It's not good. That's good for the nafs. And that's not good for the heart. That's not good for happiness, noble happiness in this dunya and in akhirah. With that, as I was speaking earlier about the nafs, al-malaiki and al-qalb al-ajrad, the liberated heart, which Rasulullah spoke about, he also spoke of other hearts. The heart of a munafiq, the heart of a kafir, the heart that is sick, and the heart that is dead. But one thing that is very serious, in which from the hadith that I am alluding at, the hadith that has also al-qalb al-ajrad, when he says وَقَلْبٌ تَوُدُّهُ مَادَّتَانِ مادة إيمان ومادة نفاق فهو لأيهما غلب وذلك قلب المريض. Sick heart. Sick heart is partially partially taken over by the low nufus. And sometimes there is the influence of the noble nafs also. So he says, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, قَلْبٌ تَمُدُّهُ مَادَّتان, after he defined يعني the قلب of a munafiq and the قلب of a kafir, the قلب of a mu'min, or the قلب الحي, the living heart, and the قلب الميت of a munafiq, the قلب الأغلف of a kafir. And then he says, القلب المريض. And a sick heart is a sick that is a heart, that is fed by two channels, two sources. مادة إيمان ومادة كفر ومادة نفاق. Source of Iman, like the Malaika source, and the source of Nifaq, dead heart, or kufr. And this heart is sick because sometimes it takes the identity of the stronger of the influences. Sometimes it looks like and behaves like a heart of a mu'min, and sometimes it is like a heart of a munafiq, for example. This is a heart that is sick, qalbun marid. تمده مادتان, مادة إيمان ومادة نفاق. فهو لأيهما غلب. So sometimes we're like this, sometimes we're like that. That's a sick heart. The ulama have said, rahimahullah ta'ala, of the qulub, including the likes even of Ibn Taymiyyah, rahimahullah ta'ala, who said, most of us, most believers are in this category. القلب المريض لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. اللهم لطفك يا رب، اللهم لطفك يا رب، اللهم لطفك يا رب. And just think about it. Engage your lives. See what a day is like in one's life, what an average day is like in one's life. And what quality time we spend doing what? What we speak, what we think, what we feel, what we desire, what we entertain inside, what we do with our hands, where we go, how we respond, how we argue, how we pray, what sort of salah, what sort of cuff focus or lack thereof, what we eat, how we eat, what we drink, how we drink, how we play, when we play. Take all of that and you can even quantify, not only qualify, the type of nafs we have, and therefore the type of qalb we have. What is the quality time we spend in our lives like? Even when we come in salah, is it quality time in salah? Like the quality time you spend watching the supercomputer, television, and it's everything in there now. We don't talk about television anymore. When you sit, people sit and watch television, what focus, what concentration it is. 2 hours pass like, and then we cannot be in dhikr after salah for 5 minutes. That seem to be so long. Oh, I have something important to do. Well, I prayed. And the prayer itself was like 4 minutes. It seemed like to be 4 hours. Quality time. See how we spend our quality time. That can help me evaluate the nafs I have inside of me. And therefore, to plead to Allah Azza wa Jalla, Allahumma lutfak, Allahumma lutfak, Ya Rabbi, this is the nafs I have. Please help me. Please help me be free. Help me be liberated. And like this until I meet Him Azza wa Jalla. My dear brothers and sisters, Tazkiyatul Nafs does not come without struggle. Especially when we discover first, we identify what to struggle against. That's why we have to speak about what the nafs is. Tazkiyah of what? Once we discover that, we recognize the momentous task we have in front of us. And then we begin, perhaps as we practice, to appreciate tahqiqan, in the haqiqa sense, the word of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, أفضل الجهاد من جاهد نفسه في ذات الله. The most meritorious of jihad is a jihad of someone against his own nafs. Then we'll begin to experience what that really tastes like, not we know, we memorize, we have heard it, we've read it, but we begin to experience that in a dhawqi way. It requires hard work. It requires hard work, and hard work, bi'idhnillah, in this way pays off. Man sabara ظفر. Man sabara ظفر. ومن قصد وصل. That's the promise of Allah Azza wa Jalla. وَالَّذِينَ جَاهَدُوا فِينَا لَنَهْدِيَنَّهُمْ سُبُلَنَا. Allah has promised that those who strive and struggles in our way, we will surely show them the way and guide them to the way and take them to the way. بإذنه عز وجل. So, that having been said, it is said, no pain. Okay, that's what you practice, don't you? You have to wake up early in the morning to go to work, especially when you find a job you like. And many in the United States especially start going to work at what time?
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock, 5 o'clock. Naam. Yes. Not 8 o'clock, not 7:30, 5 o'clock and 6 o'clock, and doing that every day. That's pain for a gain you want. عجيب أمرنا عجيب أمرنا نريد الجنة نريد قرب الله نريد معرفة الله نريد محبوبية الله, and we don't wake up for Fajr because it's too early. And we delay our Salah. It's too cumbersome. It's too much. Too much, subhanAllah. Struggle until Allah makes it easy and pleasurable. Until Allah makes it easy and pleasurable. One of the Salihun said, Utba al-Ghulam rahimahullah ta'ala, said, كابدت الصلاة 20 سنة. I struggled in my salah. This is a Salih, really Salih, in the Abbasid time. كابدت الصلاة 20 سنة. This is the struggle of 20 years, diligently, every day, working, striving, focusing, and reorienting, and learning and relearning and practicing and kada with nawafil with kada for 20 years. And then I enjoyed it for the rest of the 20 years. And subhanAllah, by Allah's hikmah, struggle actually is necessary for freedom. True or false? In every sense. Right? Even in the political sense. Struggle leads to freedom. Now take that concept and apply it to the level of the qalb. No struggle, no freedom of the qalb. No struggle against the nafs to liberate the qalb, no freedom of the qalb. No freedom of the qalb means hijabul qalbi anillah. Means the qalb is veiled from Allah. Who says that? Allah. Where does he say that? أين كلا إنهم عن ربهم يومئذ لمحجوبون. كلا بل ران على قلوبهم ما كانوا يكسبون كلا إنهم عن ربهم يومئذ لمحجوبون. That those of us whose qulub have been veiled by the ran on account of dhunub and sins and disobedience and indulging ourselves, going along with ourselves, that will generate a ran which will veil us from Allah Azza wa Jalla. Not only in akhirah, but in this dunya. القلب يحجب عن الله لا إله إلا الله ومن حجب قلبه عن الله لن يذوق طعم حلاوة ذكر الله ولن يذوق طعم حلاوة محبة الله والشوق إلى الله والقرب من الله ومعرفة الله والتعلق بالله والصبر مع الله. لن يعرفها لأنه حجب. I need to struggle. Going uphill liberates me. SubhanAllah, in the laws of Allah in nature, basically, when you walk uphill, basic physics, when you walk uphill, the law of Allah in the physical universe, what happens when you walk uphill to something called the potential energy? It increases. You gain potential energy. And when you walk downhill, listen to these words. These are the laws of Allah. These are the words we use now. When you walk downhill, what happens to that potential energy? You lose it. It decreases. You lose potential energy. Allahu Akbar. In the vector space of the nafs and the qalb, if you go against the nafs, you gain qalb energy, potential energy, because the qalb dimension is latent and potential relative to the nafs dimension. If we go against the nafs, that's uphill road. You know, eat, no, this is haram, it's delicious, eat. No, it's haram, makruh. That's an uphill road of the nafs. Indulge, uncover yourself. That's, you know, that's modern, that's kala, that's kala. No, that's uphill road. Everybody's doing it. Look, this smart person is doing it, that smart lady is doing it, that smart man is doing it. That's a challenge. To go against that is to develop potential energy, to gain it. That's how we become more angel-like. If I go along with my nafs, I go downhill. I lose potential energy. And potential energy is what I need, as you know, some of you know, is the energy I need for movement to move, right? That transforms into kinetic energy. So when I go downhill, I lose potential energy, and the lower I go, the more difficult it is to walk back up. Indulging the nafs is committing dhunub. And every time I commit a dhanb, I sink lower. I lose more energy. Every sin I commit, in my relationship with Allah Azza wa Jalla, and or in my relationship with the creatures of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as dhunub are of these two sorts, حقوق Allah and حقوق العباد. And every time I violate a right of Allah or a right of the creature of Allah Azza wa Jalla, that's a dhanb. And dhunub have consequences. Of the consequences of dhunub is to lose my spiritual qalb energy, to do good, to walk, not physically now, but to do good. To wake up for Fajr, I can't. That requires energy. To wake up for Qiyam, that's not obligatory, but I can't. To fast Ramadan, even Ramadan, so hard, I can't. to forgive somebody who hurt me. Can't I have to be vindictive? I can't forgive. كل هذه آثار الذنوب. And the worst of which, of course, is to be veiled from Allah. And the accumulation of the dhunub accumulate to veil us from Allah. Before even talking about what happens in the hereafter, of consequences in the hereafter. In this dunya, dhunub have consequences such as I have mentioned. My dear brothers and sisters, when we commit dhunub, we develop energy for more dhunub because we sink lower. Because when you're going downhill and you don't stop and you allow yourself, you develop a kinetic energy to go further downhill. Isn't it? Run downhill and see what happens. You feel like you're developing more ability to run downhill. As we disobey Allah and we commit sins that's going downhill in the realm of the nafs, then we develop more nafs energy to commit more dhunub. لذلك قال أهل الله والصالحون مستنبطين من الكتاب والسنة إن من آثار الذنوب تزيين الذنوب ومن عقاب الذنب ارتكاب ذنب آخر. That's why they say رحمه الله تعالى اللهم اغفر لنا وتب علينا. Of the consequences of the dhanb, and the effects of a dhanb is to beautify the dhanb. It will be made attractive to us with time. And we don't feel the ugliness of it at all. It becomes normal and even attractive. And of the consequences of committing a dhanb, a punishment of committing a dhanb is the ease to commit the next dhanb. That's itself a punishment. نستدرجهم من حيث لا يعلمون وأملي لهم إن كيدي متين. All of that is part of the consequence of the dhanb, my dear brothers and sisters, is to commit the next dhanb and to delight consequently in the commission of the dhanb and to argue for it. It does not become a dhanb anymore to the person. Of the consequences of dhunub in this dunya are constrictions in the inside. Danak mentioned something like that last night, I believe. ضيق, constriction, danak fil aish, and gham, and ham, and anxieties, and sometimes depressions, and sometimes worse, as a consequence of dhunub. The consequence of dhunub. Doctors don't know that yet, because medicine is so far defined in very materialistic terms. And we just follow those who happen to lead in the realm of the definition of science and the definition of medicine. But we should know that some sicknesses, psychological sicknesses, psychiatric sicknesses, emotional sicknesses, and sometimes even physical ones, are the consequences by Allah's leave of dhunub in this dunya for akhirah. And the texts are very many about that, especially in the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. And again, part of the consequences of dhunub is we don't feel rich inside. We feel poor. And therefore, they would say sometimes, dhunub leads to poverty. What does that mean? In so many ways. In one way, the commission of dhunub makes me internally so weak psycho-spiritually that no matter what I have, it's never enough. And if I don't have enough, that's even worse. So I feel like I am diminishing in my ability to provide for my livelihood. فقر الإنسان في قلبه من أثر الذنوب. هكذا. And the point behind all of this is that we need to strive and struggle to be lifted, to face this nafsani drives inside of us, to change our qulub. And that Allah Azza wa Jal ultimately tells us that on the day of judgment, those will be safe and secure and enjoy the divine companionship and Jannah and be safe, only those who come to Allah with a qalb that is salim. Through the very famous prayer of our father Ibrahim alayhi wa rasulina salatu salam, وَلَا تُخْزِنِي يَوْمَ يُبْعَثُونَ يَوْمَ لَا يَنْفَعُ مَالٌ وَلَا بَنُونَ إِلَّا مَنْ أَتَى اللَّهَ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ. وَلَا تُخْزِنِي يَوْمَ يُبْعَثُونَ. Please, Ya Allah, don't cause me to be rejected and despised and dishonored and humiliated, that is, on the day when all will be resurrected, on the day when no wealth, no offspring, and no resources will be of any avail to anyone, except the one who comes to you with a qalb that is salim. قلب سليم من الآفات ومن العاهات. قلب سليم من النفس البهيمية والسبعية والشيطانية. قلب أجرد حر بالله وفي الله ولله. قلب صاف نقي إلا من أتى الله بقلب سليم. And note that Allah did not say قلب سالم. He said salim. What's the difference between salim and salim? Huge difference. You know, hyperbole in language, صيغة المبالغة. And salim is صيغة المبالغة of salim, hyperbole in language. Salim is the one who is healthy. One word, healthy. Salim, always healthy. Constantly healthy. Very healthy. Not sometimes healthy and sometimes not. Ya Latif, Allahumma sitrak ya Rabbi. Illa man atallaha biqalbin salim. If Allah does not forgive our dhunub, we come to Allah with qulub that are sick, marid. Marid meaning, yes, we did something, good things too, but sometimes we're this, sometimes we're that. Sometimes we love Allah, sometimes we love our nafs, وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. Sometimes we succumb to the traps and suggestions of shaitan through our nafs. That's, and sometimes not. But he says, qalbun salim, always like that. And therefore, if we enter Jannah, it is only by His rahmah. Only by His rahmah. Merciful love, or loving mercy of His subhanahu wa ta'ala. Tazkiyatu nufusina in hadha al-bab, my dear brothers and sisters. I'm going to conclude here, inshallah ta'ala, after a few words, and then I open the floor for some of the questions that you might have. And that is, I advise you in this context, and myself first, my brothers and sisters, to do the following: to have a regular diet of knowledge, to be serious, regular, not irregular, not occasional, not once a year or once a week only. Regular diet of ilm. If you don't have a regular diet of food and you eat only once a week, you won't live long. A regular diet of ilm, if there is no regular diet of ilm, the qalb, the spiritual qalb, not the physical qalb, will soon die. Second, as a consequence of that, ilm, of which this is what we're doing here today. This is ilm, this is not amal. This is ilm. And the next amal is tawbah. Ilm engenders hopefully, if we understand it well and internalize it and repeat it and we learn it with a lot of dua from Allah Azza wa Jal, it generates inside of us longing and remorse. Right? Longing for Allah and for what we have missed up to this point in our relationship with Allah, and we long for better. And remorse, we realize the mistakes we have made, the nafs I have, sins I have committed, the consequences of that in my life. And that will generate a burst of remorse inside of me. And that burst of pain, of remorse and longing, that is tawbah. That's a burst of tawbah. Tawbah is not simply to say, tubtu, wastaghfartu, just here. If it does not involve the qalb and the depth inside of me and the realization of what I am saying and what I am meaning. Even if I don't utter a word, and if my qalb is in that burst of remorse and longing, that's tawbah. The return to Allah Azza wa Jal, coming back to Allah Azza wa Jal. And I need to do that regularly. That's why Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam teaches us to be in istighfar and in tawbah every day, at least 100 times. And if he at his level, and his level is not anybody's level, at his level, at his dimension, them is at his dimension, not the them you understand and I understand. And with that, يستغفر الله ويتوب إليه في اليوم 100 مرة 70 مرة 100 مرة. Quality istighfar and tawbah of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam at his level, which is not the same at the level of anyone, not the Siddiq even. I and you need to constantly renew our tawbah, intellectually and emotionally. And before we go to bed every night, and when we wake up every morning, and in every salah, and after every salah, and in between, أكثروا من الاستغفار, توبة إلى الله, while learning to mean it and to internalize it. He Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is sitting in a majlis, regular majlis, daily activity, and he interrupts the majlis, not interrupting, meaning to cut it. I would say not interrupted, hasha. The majlis is enhanced and beautified by his expression, Astaghfirullah al-Azim wa atubu ilayh. Astaghfirullah al-Azim wa atubu ilayh. Astaghfirullah al-Azim wa atubu ilayh. Aloud, in the majlis, personally. Astaghfirullah alladhi la ilaha illa hu, al-hayy al-qayyum, wa atubu ilayh. And you mean that, and you take time of khalwa, take time alone, quality time alone, to turn to Allah, to plead to Allah, to implore from Allah, to show tawbah to Allah, to ask Allah to teach my heart how to be in tawbah with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Quality time, as I said in my salah, quality khalwa after salah, not in a hurry to leave, not bored like a munafiq also does salah. A munafiq isn't salah, because they claim they are Muslim. But their salah is described by Allah in the Quran as a salah in which they are lazy and bored. وَإِذَا قَامُوا إِلَى الصَّلَاةِ قَامُوا كُسَالَى. They pray, they perform salah, but in salah they are lazy and bored. And they are the worst human beings in the scale of Allah Azza wa Jalla, the munafiq, worse than a kafir. But their salah is a salah of a lazy person, of a bored person in that salah. وَيُرَاءُونَ النَّاسَ لَا يَذْكُرُونَ اللَّهَ إِلَّا قَلِيلًا. And of their characteristics is they like to be seen by others doing these good things. Riya, ostentation. And they are in dhikr of Allah, but very rarely, not very frequently. إِلَّا قَلِيلًا. لا يذكرون الله إلا قليلا. They are in dhikr. Even munafiq is in dhikr. Imagine some of us not in dhikr at all. Ya Latif. Munafiq is in dhikr. But the dhikr of a munafiq is qaleel. The dhikr of a mu'min is kathir. That's why Allah in the Quran, when He enjoins upon us dhikr, always He puts the adverb kathira. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اذكروا الله ذكرا كثيرا والذاكرين الله كثيرا وهكذا. But for the munafiq, لا يذكرون الله إلا قليلا. So it's not only dhikr of Allah, it's frequent dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Tawbah to Allah Azza wa Jal. And then, as we said, no pain, no gain, and struggling inside. Listening to the moods inside of us, dhikr and dua and moments of khalwa and some soul and so on, and quietude, help us make sense of our lives, of what we are inside, of what we feel inside, so that to begin to take the proper remedies. Mujahadatun nafs, to listen to the moods inside of us and to be equipped to say no to the nafs by imploring Allah to make it easy on me gradually, by not being in the places that make sinning easier for me, but not being in the company or instruments with me that would make sinning accessible and available to me. Because sometimes a person, a mu'min, does not want to sin, but if it is made available and accessible, she or he weakens. True false. Because even in secular psychology, in marketing, they use that. You know what that is called? First of all, the right to advertise. But I'm not forcing you to do anything. Just advertising, making it available to you. And that availability tells you that it is accessible to you. And statistically, you can make profit out of that. So many ability. We buy that.